it's so important to practice actually being good at that. And I know when I first started riding, I wasn't very good at that, but I always, when I would, for example, I would stalk your Strava and see you braking on the downhills with like no coasting. It's like, oh, I guess that's how I should be riding. And um, I think there's no better person to ask as to how to ride like a metronome than you, because if we look at your Strava rides, it's like I don't think I've seen anybody ride more steadily than you.
If there's one thing that I would vouch for myself, I'm the best in the world at that's them. But,
So how do you do it? I don't know. I've always wondered.
I mean, I just have like hardwired my brain. Like I can't. It's funny actually. I mean, this happens to me every year when I go and do my first race. Like I find myself in the race where you're obviously trying to save energy, and if you can coast, you coast. You're done, right? It feels like accidentally pedaling. You know, so it's like thing in my brain that I just have. Like if it's a safe area, aka I'm not going down a switchback downhill. Like I don't hold my brakes on the downhill like I used to. But I think there is, and I see this all the time, you know, a rider who, when they get above a certain velocity, it's just like, well, all right, I'm going 35 miles an hour. I'm just going to stop pedaling. Or even like they'll get in their super tuck. And I'm thinking like, that's you're not training any energy systems when you're coasting. Like that's a no-brainer. So I feel like within reason, if we can pedal, and we might have to pedal at 120 RPMs for a minute if you're going 40 miles an hour on a nice straight long 4 or 5% downhill. It's totally pedalable, you know.
Hmm.
And I feel like even doing those really high cadence on those downhills, it's great to get yourself better pedaling, efficiency pedaling, you know,
Absolutely.
ability to get that leg speed in. I don't know. I just am a bit of a freak with that type of stuff.
Yeah.
I pedal in all possible moments. I feel like it's something that a lot of people can improve. You know, like you've seen that graph on Strava for at least if you have the Strava Premium, you can see like how many seconds or how many minutes during each ride you spend between 0 and 25 watts, which is coasting, obviously.
Yeah.
We want to get that as low as we can.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like the best way to approach it is keeping your power as steady as possible and kind of varying your cadence or just shifting with the terrain. Because I think one thing people do is they ride with the terrain, and rather you need to focus on just keeping that power steady as possible, but changing gears, whether it's
Got it.
going in a lower gear or a higher gear, or even you can even do single speed riding if you're riding a bunch of rollers and kind of get in that cadence work rather than accelerating on the uphills and coasting on the downhills. And if you're used to doing that, it can definitely take a while to get used to riding in that steady zone. But the more you do it, then the more natural it becomes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely, I mean, and that's the reality. Like, zone two can be boring at times. There's no doubt. Like, got to go super slow on the climbs. If you're going up a steep climb, like you're just basically just going as slow as you can. But I feel like that discipline there, it just pays off every year in the long run. Like, if you can just really hold yourself back and just make sure you're in that proper zone. Again, not trying to like make anyone neurotic about this stuff like I am. Like just a little bit more cognizant, just concentrating on it a bit more. That can do enough to really take away those coasting minutes.
Yeah. Okay. So we kind of talked a little bit about interval sessions. What would you say are your kind of, aside from the Fat Max, what would be your go tos during base season to kind of set you up well for the build phase, whether it's making gains or even just maintenance intensity to keep you from getting stale? Because the zone two is great, but as you said, once you get into the racing, sometimes it's hard to get used to the undulating nature of actually racing. So what are you doing along with the base training to make sure that you're not getting stale with all the zone two?
Yeah, I mean, there is something to be said. Like I mentioned before, doing 3 months where you go. no higher than, 150 beats per minute is also not going to be good for us. Like that just is making us so unidimensional. So a session that I really like to do, and again, I'm going more towards the idea of staying away from tempo and kind of, or if I'm going to do tempo, I want it to be at the very lowest zone of that tempo. Just the least stress possible. I just want to be as closely aerobic as possible. And I like to do a nice session where I'll maybe go out and do, for those of you who have long climbs around, or you can just do it on the flat, maybe a solid 2 15 to 20-minute blocks where I go 20 seconds, like neuromuscular, really hard sprinting, basically seated sprints, kind of just develop that callus. This is a workout that you would know. Nate Wilson, he's a fantastic coach. He used to have me doing this all the time, and I really think it's an effective one. So yeah, 20 seconds, basically full gas, seated, and I would alternate between one at a lower cadence and one at just a higher cadence. So it's a freely chosen cadence. Mm-hmm. So do that for 5 minutes. So 20/40s for 5 minutes, straight into like a tempo block for 15. Mm-hmm. Do that